Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learn with Jason. Today on the show, we've got Daniel Phiri. Daniel, thank you so much for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. First time I've had coffee in a while, so I am very amped with this show.
You're raring to go. So I'm super excited to have you on. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. We've had a chance we were on some podcasts, some panels together, but I'm excited to learn from you today. So for folks who aren't familiar with your work, do you want to give us a little bit of a background on yourself?
Yeah. Like backroom, you told me I'd have to do this, and I was prepared, but now it's like, you put me on the spot. Ah, gosh, what do I do? So I do dev stuff here and there. I like to build like silly, funky things that I almost never share. Very rarely do. And then I got into developer relations because I liked working with communities. I started really enjoying working with developer tools and just like going really into how the software industry works, at least from the developer standpoint. So that was pretty nice. And that's a lot of what I do. I do Devo at Strapi now, and still build things here and there. So,
Nice,
oh,
nice.
and I think people tell me to not be too coy about this also. I just did music production and I DJ techno also. So
Oh,
there we
nice,
go.
nice. Yeah, that's that. I
Yeah.
mean, I love that stuff. I keep telling myself that someday I'm going to get back to making music again, and it just never happens. Someday I'll have spare time. Like, who gets spare time? How does that work? I've seen this joke made a few times, but I've just thought for a long
Yeah.
time that adulthood is just repeating the phrase, things are going to calm down after this week until you die.
Yeah. It's like, oh, it gets better. It's a mix of it gets it's like a mix of it gets better and it is what it is, to be honest. So I'm just learning that also. Like I'm new to this whole adult thing.
Well, cool. So today, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about headless CMSs in general and Strappy in specific. But so
Yeah.
let's start with a little bit of like the high level, right? So headless CMSs, I think a lot of folks who've seen the show are probably at least passingly familiar with the concept of a headless CMS, but we've got new people coming in every day. So if you are one of today's lucky 10,000 learning about a headless CMS, what is the concept? What are you what's the benefit of using one?
I think I'll start with the concept before I get into like the benefits.
Sure.
What are these? Uh,
We're getting booped.
Oops. Nice. Okay. Yeah, like so the whole concept of headless CMS, I guess, came from evolving tools. We changed the way we build on the front end, and so we had to sort of improvise and adapt to the way we collect data and store data to like fit multiple platforms, multiple devices, and just make sure that that's more like a seamless and better developer experience, and just in general a better experience. And that's sort of like where the whole idea of headless came up with. So it's like there's I mean, headless means there's a head, right? There
Hmm.
was a head at some point. So the front end is usually what's used in this analogy as the head, and then like headless is like, okay, it's front end agnostic in short, meaning, don't really rely on a specific front end to sort of display your content. And that's sort of where headless CMS content management system comes from. In the past, you had like a content management system, what you stored served a specific platform, right? And like I said, we evolved. We got new tools, got new toys to play with as developers, and we sort of had to make things work.
Hmm.
And that's what it is. It's like exposing your content management system, your admin backend, to a bunch of different front ends via an API, and that's
Yeah.
headless.
Yeah, I
How I like to
the
see it.
the part that I get really excited about with it is this idea that, because I come from an agency background. Back in the day I ran an agency. We did a lot of WordPress work. And what I
Mm,
always struggled with was somebody would come in and they would say, "Hey, we've got we've got a forum, we've got a store, we've got whatever, and we want to put all these things together. And I would end up like a lot of times you just suffered through like you're trying to shoehorn e-commerce data into WordPress, or you're trying to make a blog work on Magento, or just something that the tool wasn't really built to do because the front end of the site had to be tied to the way the data was stored on the back end of the CMS. And the thing that I got really excited about was when headless started to catch on, we didn't have to do that anymore. So I was able to say, oh, you've got a blog on WordPress and you're managing your page content, but then you've got a store in Shopify and you manage your products there, and you've got a forum in, whatever. Cool. Let's use the headless versions. We can build you a custom website and we'll just pull that data in from the platform where it makes sense to keep that data. And you get to use the best in class CMS. But I, as a developer, don't have to figure out how to fit together 4 different bespoke templating languages for 4 different CMSs. So that to me was really exciting. And it started to make me feel like, okay, we can start to treat the front end of the web as like a product and not an outgrowth of managing backends.
I love the way you said that, the front end is like a product. Yeah, 'cause that's exactly where it came from. Everything was like sort of fixed together, and one managed backend meant a single front end, and that's usually the web, right? But now more platforms are becoming like really important.
Mm-hmm.
I was using my smartwatch, and headless CMSs can send things there. I have my mobile phone, which is practically an extension of me, and I use it more than I use my laptop. So, there's all that headless enables,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a pretty cool thing to have. And it's one thing I like about it now is it's growing beyond that. I think this is something that happens with technologies, that its initial benefits, it outgrows its initial benefits, and it sort of starts to create its own. Um, it's like, oh, someone's using it for this really weird, obscure thing, but it's also awesome. Oh, this is another really cool thing that it brings to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're sort of seeing it being integrated into like other systems that existed before. And people are sort of asking themselves, hey, okay, we got rid of like the whole idea of like the monolith CMS, which is what I like to call like pre-headless.
Right.
And we got rid of that, but then we lost some of the efficiencies that came with having a system like that, or the features that sort of got developed because of a system like that. And headless is sort of right now, I wouldn't say playing catch up, but innovating in its own right, and building out new workflows for modern teams, which
Mm.
is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like I like seeing that, it feels less like there's contention between how you want to manage your content and how you want to build your website. You can make choices, and you don't have to like accept the downsides of the front end management of one CMS platform because you really
Yeah.
like the upsides of the content management part. And so actually that brings us to what you're doing over at Strapi, right? So Strapi is I would say kind of a unique approach to headless CMSs, or it's one of a kind of a unique class of headless CMSs. And Edward in the chat's working overtime for you today. He says Strapi is the most flexible and extensible open source CMS out there. So when you talk about that, okay, so open source in and of itself is very cool, but when we talk about flexibility and
Mm.
extensibility, what is it that Strapi is doing? Or I guess, okay, let's start with what is Strapi, and then let's talk about what flexibility and extensibility mean.
Yeah, sure. That's a good place to start. So Strapi, like Edward says, is the most flexible and extensible open source set of SEOs. I'll get his copy, but yeah, it's basically that it's a headless CMS, Node.js based, open source, and it's truly known for like its customization, its flexibility, and its extensibility.
Hmm.
Um, why this is sort of to understand that you'd sort of have to go to like Strappy's roots, like where did Strappy come from? It has its background in like an API framework, which could be a bit confusing for a lot of people because like now that we're sort of evolving as a CMS, people are like, hey, I should be able to do this with Strapi. But it's like, okay, we've had to sort of like tighten some things in certain places. And it's still pretty flexible. And I should probably talk about how it's flexible now. So there's so many places. I'm trying to figure out the best place to start, to be honest. I think one, the fact that it's open source means its code is customizable.
Mm.
We see a lot of people doing a lot of really interesting things, particularly with how we do APIs. And I'm sure once we get to demoing that, it'll sort of make sense.
Hmm.
You sort of work through content modeling, and then that's sort of how you build your endpoints, you build your APIs, and then that's what's accessible. And once you do that, you sort of have this code, which you can open up in like VS Code and change a bunch of things. You add like hooks, you can tweak what do we call these? We call them like controllers, and you can build services and change how you interact with your database. And it's built on Koa, so it's got this really interesting request response flow, at which any point you can sort of tweak how data goes into like your database or how your client receives a response. And that's super underrated. I think
Mm.
that a lot of people use that. And then even just going a step back and talking about databases, we support a lot of SQL databases, which is really cool. And being self-hosted means it's also super flexible about where you deploy it. I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, but at the moment, that's something like a lot of people really like
Hmm.
about Strapi. And then even when you talk about like how you access your database, sorry, your API, we've got like RESTful APIs and GraphQL APIs.
Mm.
And something I like about GraphQL is like it's it's not super hard to get into like customizing your schema and building custom resolvers. It's so fun.
Yeah.
And even like building like your own custom endpoints that are independent of your database schema is just like it's really cool. And there's like a lot of really cool resources. I see Richard is in the chat. He's saying bootstrap your APIs on the document on the user success team. And yeah, they've done a really great job with like resources for the community and like making sure the documentation has all holes plugged. So I don't think I've done it justice, but I do want to dwell too much on that. But it's super customizable.
Yeah, no,
I
I
hope
mean,
from what I've seen.
I've done a little bit with Strappy. Like we've got a couple episodes in
Mm,
the archive of doing different projects with Strappy. But what I think is exciting about it, just from the outside looking in, what I find compelling about tools like Strappy is that there's no magic box to them. One of the things that strikes me a little bit with certain tools is when you log in, you're through a UI and you start like clicking buttons to make things happen, and then like you don't really know what's going on under the hood, and then if you break something, you're helpless, right? You just feel stuck. And what I've
oh yeah.
found to be really powerful about tools like Strappy is that when you're configuring Strappy, like you still get that really nice UI experience, but it's configuring code under the hood, so you can actually see what changed, what's the schema, what does my data actually connect like, and I think that that's something that Strappy and like a few others out there, like Sanity's another one that does it really well, where you get like code as the source of truth, which as a developer, that's what I want. And I think that for developers out there looking for a really flexible CMS, being able to actually look at here's how your CMS is defined, these are the way the fields are defined and how they relate to each other. It just helps me reason and feel more confident that I've done something correctly, um,
Yeah,
as opposed to just hoping that like I understood the way that this UI was put together and the way that these things are actually talking. Um, so it's a nice little power
exactly.
up
Yeah.
that way. But yeah, so I think we could probably sit here and talk about it in the abstract all day, but it's probably easier to show people. So maybe we should switch over and do a little pair programming. What do you think?
Absolutely. Let's get into it. Let's do it.
All right, here we go. So What we'll do first and foremost is let's do a quick shout out. We've got Amanda here with us today, writing down all the things we say, doing live captioning. She is from White Coat Captioning. Thank you so much, Amanda, for being here. And that's made possible through the support of our sponsors, Netlify, Fauna, Hasura, and Auth0, all of whom are kicking in to make this show more accessible to more people, which means a lot to me. I hope it means a lot to you. Make sure you go and check that out on the homepage. While you're checking out things on the homepage, maybe go take a little peek at this store, because I made a corgi duck. It's a little rubber duck that looks like a corgi. It's a party corgi you can talk to, and it's gonna listen to your problems, help you rubber duck your code, and it's probably gonna make you a better developer, I assume. Make sure you go and check that out. I need to sell a lot of them because I have so many. Please get these corgis out of here. While you're looking at things on the internet, please go and check out Daniel's Twitter. It is private, so you can apply to follow Daniel on Twitter, and he'll do some filtering later on. We are talking specifically about
after a rigorous
rigorous screen
program.
Please, with your Twitter follow, submit 2 forms of ID and references. Oh, thank you very much for the sub, Edward. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Strappy today, so drop the link in the chat for that. With that, I think we can start writing some code. So if I want to do this, what's my step 0? What should I do first?
Great. I would suggest going to docs and resources. So click docs and resources.
Docs and resources. Here we are
in the nav bar. Yeah, I just wanted to show off our resource center. I think it's really pretty.
This is really nice. I like it. It's good looking.
Thank you. Yeah. So there is sort of like a good place to start and just like look at a bunch of really cool resources, changelog, and all that stuff. So I would suggest going into the developer documentation. That's always where I start my projects. And we have the purple card for that.
Purple card. Here we go.
Yep.
All right. So I'm assuming I want to go to the quick start guide.
Very correct.
All right.
Let's go to quick start guide.
And so should we talk a little bit about what we're actually going to do today? So we're going to put together a site. What's our site for? What are we talking about today? Is this a blog? Is this a marketing site? Chat, weigh in if you've got something that you've been trying to learn that you wanna see. Daniel, you got any ideas of a good use case?
Chat. Lots of wild ideas. I don't know if the scope's right though. I would say a thought sort of app. This is like, the corgi rubber duck. It's like CRM for all our thoughts and
CRM. Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's build a little a dashboard. Like we'll build a CRM dashboard for corgi thoughts. All right. Yeah. So if we're gonna do that, am I just going straight through on the Gatsby blog, or do we want a different setup here?
Oh no. So at the top, you see 2 tabs there where it says starter or hands-on. Just you scroll up. Yeah. So starters would like give you pre-configured apps with a front end and a back end for different use cases. We don't want that. So we want to go hands-on.
Okay. So I'm in hands-on. I'm going to run this quick start.
Exactly that command.
All right. So I'm going to call this one Strappy Corgi Duck CRM.
Yeah. Need to trademark that. Very much.
All right, so it has created a folder for us. It's installing dependencies now.
Yep. So to do that for a bit, and then we already used the quick start flag. Usually it would ask us what database we want to use, and then you have to sort of go and set up or add the credentials for your different databases.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can just wait for the dependencies to install.
So what did we choose by using quick start? Is it SQLite?
Yeah, we chose SQLite.
Okay,
So that's
great.
like a nice temporary database on our local machine.
Nice.
Doesn't not much setup to be honest, and it's a really nice way to get up and running really quick.
Yeah, SQLite is great for local dev. It's a good way to get things just kind of proved out. Um, it's a little trickier if we want to get this thing live, so we probably won't deploy Strappy today. We can talk about how you would deploy Strappy today, though. I think would be a good thing to cover.
Mhm.
Well, let's see how far we get. Right, if we've got plenty of time, maybe we will just go ahead and deploy it.
Yeah, so that's actually something we see a lot. Once you get started with SQLite, it's like, okay, how do we take this to like production where we
Mm-hmm.
might want to use something like Postgres? And we have this really cool workflow where you can work locally with SQLite and then deploy and sort of use the same content models on like a Postgres database in like Heroku or DigitalOcean or another platform. So
Cool.
yeah, let's see how that goes.
Okay, so it
Nice.
fired up the dev server here, and this popped open in my other browser, so I just moved it over. And so if I want to put in my information,
Yeah.
all right, and then we'll put in a
My password. Let's make
really
sure we
a
don't do
really
that.
really secure password. No one's ever going to get that one.
That is really long.
Come on. Okay, fine. We're going to do what? Oh boy, we're playing this game, huh?
Oh yeah. So uppercase, letter, and more than eight.
You hackers, you
More
you
than eight
dirty
characters.
hackers. Okay, so I'm in. I'll never remember that password now. So we're in, and I'm looking at this is what I assume is the Strappy getting started dashboard experience. I see a few things going on. There's a create your first content. There's some videos, and I'm going to ignore all of it because you're going to help me. Today, you are my onboarding wizard.
No worries. That's exactly what I'm here for.
I
So
need
you
to
see
get
a
a
couple of
hat.
things.
Like get you. I need to send you like the onboarding wizard hat so that when we do this.
That would be epic. That would be epic. We need to do that.
Okay, so we
Oh
are.
yeah.
I think we're ready to roll here. We've got. What should we do next? We want to get some data in here, right?
Yeah, but first we have to create a content type, which is like, a content model and just have like a logical representation of the data that we want. So yeah, create a collection type.
Okay.
And what are we making again? A CRM, right?
We're gonna make a corgi duck
So
CRM.
yeah, so this is what are we storing in the CRM? I usually like to like have logical thoughts around this, just so
So
it's
so maybe
structured
what we
really
should
well.
do is so one of the best uses of a corgi duck, right, is to talk through your coding problems, right? So I can grab my little corgi duck and I can say, "Hey corgi duck, my code doesn't work. Let me explain this to you." So maybe what we can do is we
Yeah.
can keep track of developers and their problems that they've explained to the corgi duck, and then we can decide whether or not those problems have been resolved. That's
Oh
what
yes.
two data types. That should be okay, right?
So I think problems and developers. Yes, that is
Okay.
perfect.
All right. So I'll start by doing developers.
Yes.
And do I need to do any of the advanced settings?
Nope, that's
Okay.
fine. But we can look at them if you want to.
Let's open them up. Let's poke. So we have a draft
Okay.
publish system. Nice. So I can work on something and save it without necessarily taking it live.
Yeah.
Content type and table name. We don't care about that. Localization. Localization is very cool. We don't have time to do that today, so we'll leave that off for now. And I'm going
Yep.
to continue. All
Let
right.
us do
So
that.
let's see. This part is nice and
Developers.
intuitive. So let's think about this a little bit. So for a title, like somebody's name, I'm going to say that we do want that. We want the developer's name and short text. It says names right there. Let's save that. Now I'm not done yet, so I want to add another field. And
Yes.
let's see what else do we need in here. I don't know if we need too much more. Maybe we can just
I
add
think we
like
just
a,
do the name for now.
yeah, you want to go with just the name? All right, so
Yeah.
we got just the name, got developer's name, and I save?
Yes, let's save.
All right. Uh-oh, what don't you like?
Oh yeah. See, that's the thing. This happens every time I'm live. I feel like it's a me problem. So just like refresh your browser tab.
Okay, refreshing. And it did the thing. Okay, so we have our developers type. Now I'm going to create a new one, and we'll have
Yes.
problems.
Oops.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this one, we'll say you can,
This is so that will give you an error because of the spacing.
oh,
So
so just like problem.
we should, yeah. So it's like maybe problem name. I don't know. Is that too verbose?
We could call it problem description. Is that okay? Or is it
Yes.
no space is allowed for the name of the attribute? Okay, so let's call it
Yeah, no space.
problem description.
Yes, problem description.
Okay,
Yeah,
and then I
let's
want to add
another
another field because I want to connect these. I want like each developer should be able to own many problems. And maybe in a future version of this, we would have like problems cross-mapped if people have the same problem. But I think for this one, let's just say that each, even if it's a duplicate, developers can have multiple problems, but problems can only have one developer. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, I love that we're on the same page, which is exactly why I wanted to create the developer one first. So just put like the relation collection type down there, and we'll be able to do that really well. So before we do anything, we have this problems field. When we look at problems, what do we want that field to be called? So I think we can name that developer so that it attributes that to a developer. And then on your right side, is this right? It's right for you also, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So I think, okay, we have developers, that's right. So we have to name this field now. But we sort of have to define the relationship first. And this follows like usual UML type relationships or database relationships. So
got it. So with this one, there is no cross-reference. Like it would just be a problem has a developer, but developers don't need to be aware of problems. Here,
and
has and belongs to one. So they would cross-reference, but each developer could only have one problem, and we all know that's a lie. Problem belongs to many developers. While true,
so like
is not what we're looking for today. A developer has many problems. Truer words have never been spoken. We're just going to go ahead and screenshot that one. Yeah. And so we could be a problem has and belongs to many, or a problem could be tied to many developers. But I think developer has many problems is both philosophically and practically what we're trying to accomplish today.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
So I'm going to finish that. And then let's save it.
Yep.
Okay, it's restarting. There it goes. And so now we've got a problem description and a developer, but then if we go to developer, we should see problem as well, right?
Yep.
Name,
there we are.
Problems. Got 99 problems, but my Strappy schema ain't one. Okay.
Not at all.
One of these days, I'm going to make a joke so bad that my guest just quits.
I doubt that. I feel like I would give you like a sub just for that. Just for that line.
Okay, so now we've got developers, we've got problems, and so we can start creating some of these, I think. So let's I'm just going over to the left-hand side. I can see my things now. So I'm going to go in and create a developer. And first one's going to be me. All right.
Jason.
So I saved this, but it's a draft. So if I actually wanted this to be live, I need to publish it, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And we're
So
going to turn that off in the advanced settings like we saw earlier.
okay, then
Cool.
let's add another one. All right. So now you and I, both developers, both in the system, let's start adding problems. So for my problems,
Yeah, what problems do you have? This is like developer therapy.
so there's one. And then for my developer, I'm going to choose me. And let's save it. All right. And then I want to create another one for me. And I'm going to say, I have so many, it's so hard to choose. I can't get this silly thing to do the thing. That's a thing that I've said many times. So that'll be one of my problems. And then let's add one for you. So what's a code problem that you want to tell to the duck?
I want to tell the duck that most times my code only works on my machine.
That's a good one. All right, so let's save that. Do you have any others, or do you think this is good enough to start?
I think I have one more. This is like so much to learn. That's like a problem.
Okay, we'll publish that.
Yeah.
All right, so now we've got 2 developers, we've got 4 problems, and if I go back into developers and look at one of these, we can see our problems here. Now, this is something that I'd love to fix. What if I want that to display a little more like human readably? Because this is showing me IDs. Could I choose a different field to show?
You could. I know how to do this. I swear I do. Go to your collections type builder.
Oh,
Exactly.
content types
And
builder.
then, no, I think that's all right.
Oh, was
That's
I in
all
the
right.
right thing?
Yeah, you're in the right thing because either way, it's configure the view.
Configure the view.
Yeah. And then there should be, yes, exactly. So
You know what it
entry
is?
title.
So I use rich text, which is going to break us here. So I'm just going to ignore it because oh, should we change it? We can. I barely used any of the setup. So let's go into content types builder. We'll go into problems, and nope, not that one. Let's go to problems here, and then I can just change this to be a.
Can you? I was going to like just create another one and then delete that.
Oh, that's okay. We don't need to worry about that. We can let that be.
All right,
so
okay.
Now we've got developers, we've got problems, and I mean, I feel like, when we've got one more thing that we need to do, which is we need to say whether or not telling the problem to the duck solved the problem. So we need to add a Boolean field. So let's get in here to our problems and let's add another field. And I want a
Boolean.
Yeah, so we'll say solved. And I want a default value of false. And we want this to be required. Look at that. Okay, so now we have whether or not the problem is solved, and on these ones the problem is definitely not solved yet, right? So these should all be set as unsolved. But you know what? I bet now if we go in here, we could configure the view and say, show me whether or not my no, true and false also don't work. That's okay. That's all good. That went so fast. Like I mean, in the span of
done so much.
Yeah, like a solid 15 minutes of effort here. We put together a new Strapi instance. We were able to go in and configure a relational database. We were able to modify our schema a little bit, get some data entry done. And it's all done in a way that, kind of makes sense to me. So like if I click in here and I look at my problems, I can see like, hey, here's a problem, here's who owns it. This is all pretty good. And then I can, we need to change that one from off on to like true false. So let's edit the fields.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm going in here.
can you? I don't think you can. I feel like that's a Strappy thing,
Oh, okay.
which I have been very adamant about. On and off is a bit confusing for a Boolean value, and I feel like I just need to open a PR and fix it.
Yes. Eddie Sims, thank you for ordering a corgi duck. I hope that it does solve all your problems. I'm very excited about that. You know what I need to do? I need a webhook that will like show whenever a corgi duck is purchased so that we can have a little like celebration on the show whenever it happens.
Oh yes,
A
that's a
million things to
brilliant
build
idea.
and no time. Someday. Someday. Okay. So now that we've
Hopefully
got
soon.
hopefully, yeah, please, hopefully soon. But yeah, so we've got developers, we've got problems, and now we can start kind of interacting with this. So it feels like there's a few ways that we could go here. If
Yeah.
I want to access this data to start, well, two things. I'm going to want to manipulate it because I want to be able to click a button and change that solve status, right? But
Yep.
also, if I want to start showing my dashboard, maybe latest questions or something like that, how do we start to like? What's our next step if we want to do that?
So what we need to do now is sort of set permissions for what type of access that end users have to the API. So like you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, you want to make requests and see that data,
Mm-hmm.
and read that data. You want to make changes, you want to create, and you want to like update. So what we need to do now is go to settings, and tweak those end user permissions.
Go into settings
Yes,
and
bottom left and roles,
roles.
under yes. So public, because I think this is a public site. We don't need to
I
authenticate
think so. Yeah, we can show
yet.
a feed of like the latest questions.
Yeah, let's do that. So yeah, this is the public roles. Like generally, anyone goes to like URL slash that endpoint. These
Mm-hmm.
are the permissions that we're sort of giving it. And what I like to do here is just click any box under any of the collection types. So let's say find, and then you see on your right the route that's related to that plus the type of request you'll be making. I find that really
Wow.
cool.
Okay. So I want to find problems. Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Okay. And then
Yeah.
if we
So if you
create
click like
problems, they could post, but we don't
update,
want somebody to do that. We could let them
yeah.
look up a single problem. So problems
Yes,
ID,
very important.
maybe find one developer and find all of their problems. Okay. All right. This is cool. I'm into it. And it looks like there's a bunch of other stuff we
Yeah.
could do that we probably don't have a lot of time to get into today. But
Yeah,
this puts us
exactly.
in pretty solid shape here, I think. If I
Yeah.
make this a little bit bigger so the text doesn't wrap on me. So if I save this then, what I should be able to do then, if I understand correctly, is I should be able to go to, oops, I should be able to go to what? Just localhost
Like
1337
localhost
isn't,
slash
and then is it,
developers. Exactly.
oh wow. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to go to slash developers. There we go. And then I want to look up a single developer. So let's look up Daniel. And now we've
Yeah.
got,
I think my IDs too.
yep, Daniel. And then here's a list of problems, right? And these are the ones that are linked specifically to Daniel. And then same thing for
Yeah.
problems, because we added that. If I can spell it. Problems. Good. And then let's set like one problem here. And it shows us the problem, shows us who the developer is. We get, my name, whether or not it's solved, although this one says null, probably because we created that before we did the required field.
Mm.
But we can fix that really fast. Can I change all of them at once? No, that would have been cool though. Let's
Not just yet.
not solved. So we're gonna save that one. Not solved. And then say not solved here either. And
There we go.
cool. All right. And then this one, actually, we can say, I need a place to share my problems. And that one's going to go to me. And this one is solved because we have a corgi duck.
Yes.
So then if I get back out here and look at my problems, we can see now it's solved false. I have way too many corgi ducks. That one's not solved. Can't get it to work, right? Oh, I think I forgot to actually publish that problem. That one's drafted.
Oh yeah, still a draft.
There it is. So I need a place to store my problems, and this one is solved. Okay, so
there we go.
We made an API. Like, that happened faster than I expected.
20 minutes. I hear that a lot. But yeah, that's something a lot of people really like about Strapi. Like in terms of like building MVPs really quick.
Absolutely.
We hear people like, oh, we got into like a planning meeting and then we just sort of like opened up Strapi and started like putting a bunch of fields together. And at the end of the meeting, we sort of had this MVP already and we're like, what?
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah.
So there's a question in chat about doing this with GraphQL. It sounds like there's a plugin. So if we wanted to show that, how would we, like, what's the process of adding that?
Right. So we have a marketplace under general on your left menu.
Okay.
And
here it is.
We could either, oh, that's new. Yeah, so we could either just press download and that would install the plugin, or we could use the CLI. I like to use the CLI because like I get to see doing everything, like installing and rebuilding the admin, and then yeah.
Okay. Let's do that one with this documentation thing, because I'm also pretty curious about this. Because Open API docs are really cool and very very powerful. So let's see, installing GraphQL. Still going.
It'll take some time. We have like a V4 coming out, and GraphQL will sort of be default.
Oh, nice.
So that's something a lot of people will enjoy. Or not default, really installed by default. You won't have to like
I got you.
Install it on your own. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, what I like about this is, you know, we clicked a button, but then we know what's happening because we can kind of see here that things are being changed. It's getting inserted into the package JSON, so we'd actually be able to track that. It's pretty slick to be able to do that. So we will. My computer's about to take off. I can feel it trying to escape. It's trying to hover.
Yeah, I think because we used like the marketplace to install GraphQL, we could use the CLI to install the documentation plugin.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, here we go. Yeah. Restarted.
Yep.
Here we go.
Or is it still loading?
Here it is.
Oh, no.
There it is.
There we go.
So now we have, it's already installed.
Mm-hmm.
So what should I do next? If you want
to use this, you should go to localhost 1337/GraphQL, and then we'll get like the GraphQL playground. We can start messing around with GraphQL operations.
Oh, beauty. Okay, so let's write a query, and we'll get developers, and I'm using control space to autocomplete here, so let's get a name. And problems, and let's get the problem description.
Look at that. So beautiful. I always marvel at GraphQL.
It's so nice, so fast, and then we can pull like whether or not it's solved.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I mean, this is great. Like it's so nice. We clicked one button, got it to work. So next, I want to add this documentation plugin, but let's use the CLI for that. So do I need to stop the server to do that?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
And then I think you have to like get into that.
What did I call this? Strappy something? There we go. All right.
Yeah, there we go. And now you should use what are you using? NPM
Yes.
or Yarn? Yeah, so NPM run Strapi install documentation.
Nice.
Mhm. Ooh, maybe someone uses Hasura and Strapi on the same database. That's pretty cool.
That's a cool idea. Hasura, if you're not familiar with it, is we got some good episodes on Hasura. You should check these out. They're a lot of fun. So here's one with Vue. Here's one. This is Tanmai, who's one of the creators of Hasura, and here's one with Christian Nwamba. And all of these are super fun. There's a lot of cool information in here. I'm a big fan of Hasura. I think it's great. Let's get this into the chat so y'all can play with it. I'll make sure these show up in the show notes as well. And while we're doing that, we're rebuilding the admin UI.
Yeah.
I know there's no search input really on the website. We built a whole thing in this episode. Where is it? Where is Sarah? Here it is. Sarah taught me how to build this, and it was amazing. And I have it sitting on a branch, but I have a compatibility problem where my site is built on like all ESM, and the Algolia stuff will work with ESM, but there's some just fixes that need to be made, and I have to do it, and I just haven't. Someday I'm gonna have it, but yeah, look how cool this is. It's like, it would be amazing if I could make this work, because we'd be able to go, Hasura, hey, look at all these Hasura things. But I am definitely not there yet. Wow. So yeah, eventually this will be part of the site experience, but we're not quite there yet. In the meantime, if you want to go search for stuff on Learn with Jason, you can do it on that episode's demo.
That is an amazing plug. I mean, like, building that must have been so fun.
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, and yeah, Sarah's a great teacher. Algolia is a great tool, and it was surprisingly approachable. Like, I feel like you like autocomplete in general, but then search indexing and stuff like that it's a lot.
Yeah.
And the indexing part took like one click. It was amazing. But okay, so we've got documentation installed. And if I want to restart, can you remind me what the command is? It develop?
It is develop. Yeah, so npm run develop.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Getting back into it. So we've got our site here. And then if I want to look at the documentation, where does one find such things?
So you should have your documentation under plugins. So just like refresh I don't think, did you?
I thought I did. Let me see. Here it is, documentation. Oh, and now there's a thing. Okay, so I just needed to refresh the page.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Do we remember the password?
I remember.
Nice.
Okay. So this token, I want to open the documentation. And so this
nice UI.
And this is all generated, like Open API, Swagger Docs. So if I click in here, we can see all of the pieces. So let's look at developers. And now I can see what all of the query parameters are. And we can straight test all this, can't we?
Yeah. Well, not in here, but I mean, we can put it in the browser tab and do it.
Right. I mean, this is, yeah, so try it out. I can just go in here and like, just try one of these, which I will put nothing in it, and then I will execute, and then you get a response that's got all of your things. So like, Swagger is dope. If you've never used it, the Open API spec makes REST APIs predictable in a way that you can kind of automatically generate documentation like this, and I love to see that Strappy's using that. so that I don't have to write documentation. I can just hand this over to my team and say, yeah, look, if you want to know what a thing is, I wouldn't have known that I needed to go and go put all of these features in there because I didn't know that I generated them, but Strappy sure did, and I can document those properly so that my code is useful to people. So this is incredible.
It does generate quite a lot. Yeah, like you get a lot out of like your first few interactions with Strapi, and then you can add way more. This is again speaking to the flexibility and customization.
Yeah. I mean, and it's also very cool because we can see here as well that it's letting us choose like dev, staging, and prod. So that if once we have taken this live, I could choose like, oh, I want to test this on my local server and then switch it over and try it on the staging server, the prod server, to make sure that like, oh, did I keep API compatibility, et cetera, et cetera. Those sorts of things are really nice, and making sure that we are providing a nice, clean experience for the rest of our team. We're not jerking people around, shipping surprises. Like that's not having to do that manually is very nice. Like having a tool that lets you sort of make these checks part of the process is pretty wonderful.
We had a session a couple of weeks ago actually with Meenakshi from Postman. And we talked a lot about the collaboration and versioning that this specific plugin enables. I think that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'll try and look for that and share it.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, okay. So we've got, we've got ourselves an API. We've got that API documented with Swagger. We've got a GraphQL version of that's self-documenting. I think the only thing that's left to do now is actually use this thing to build something, huh?
Let's do it.
Anything else you want to show off in here? Or any other settings that we should mess with before we start?
I think the provider system is pretty cool. If you go to settings. On your authenticated route, you can sort of register users in Strapi. And if you look at providers, yep, right there under exactly.
Oh.
So we have all these providers that we can sort of add to like register users in Strapi and then use that user information to access authenticated routes. So if we want to make like a SaaS version of our Rubber Ducky CRM, you can set up something like, GitHub or Auth0. GitHub because it's developers, right? And then, you authenticate with GitHub. Strapi will store that user data in the database. And then after you authenticate, you have access to all the problems. And you can see what problems developers are solving and what problems are not solved.
Yeah. I mean, this is super cool because it's it's kind of nice to do this. So I wonder, chat, what's more interesting to you? Do you want to see front end get built with the Strapi data, or do you want to see us do a little bit more with the Strapi config itself? Like we could potentially attempt to go and configure GitHub auth, or we could get in here and look at configuring so that only certain users can change data. Like we could grant an admin role for actually submitting new users via API. Just holler at what you want to see, because we can also build a front end, and building a front end is always fun.
Yeah.
Config sounds great. Any other takers? Do it all. Okay, more config. I think more config is probably, we've got plenty of episodes of this show where we build things based on APIs. So let's figure out how to config these APIs. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with like configuring a GitHub auth, or do you want to start with controlling access to the APIs?
I think let's start with controlling access to the APIs. It gives a really good introduction to like the whole idea of like what you can access and what you can't, and then builds up the use case for auth.
Okay. So let's see here. We've got authenticated. That seems like the one we probably would want to have extra permissions. And for this one, we'd want them to be able to do everything. Maybe they can't delete stuff. Like this is you can change data, but you
Very
can't
important one.
delete data, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like a good thing to do. Anything else that we want to mess with in here?
No, there's the email provider. I don't think we want to mess with anything. So this is like tweaking like the internal stuff. I think
Mm-hmm.
we can sort of like leave that so we don't break anything.
Okay. So now we've got
Yeah.
an authenticated user, but we don't have any users yet. So I would need to. Oh, I do have a
Yes.
user. Look at me. Um,
Yes. That's an admin user. So this is a common thing that a lot of people have. And it's something that we're trying to address because we understand it's super confusing. So you have like people who use the admin, which is like the back end. And this role is sort of like what access do you have um, for operations in this admin panel that we're playing around with now. But if we go under user and permissions plugin, then we sort of have the end user roles where it's like people who are making requests to our API, uh, what permissions do they have, and
got it.
that's sort of where we do that. And so to manage end users, we have a users collection type at the top left
Oh,
there,
okay.
and
Okay.
that's where we have to add images.
Okay. And does this have the same restrictions? I'll just use the same password
What
so
do you
that I
mean?
don't forget. And we'll just mark me as confirmed and
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not
it.
blocked. Let me write that
And
one more
then
time.
you see there, we can have a role.
So I want to be an authenticated user. Okay, so I'm going to
Yes.
save. All right, I have a user now. And if I actually how would I even test this? What's the path for testing it?
So I use hopscotch, or I don't know what's your preferred API testing service.
I have open source API. I've never tried this one, so this one's my current favorite. Let's try it.
Okay, let's do that. So we have a special endpoint. I think we have to go to settings and turn proxy off. Let me just open up mine also and see how I did it last time. Oh no, not here, sorry, in hopscotch.
Oh, in Hopscotch, we
Yeah.
go to settings and
And at the bottom, there should be like a proxy. Yeah, that should work. Let's proxy disabled. Okay, no, that's good. Let's not touch anything.
okay.
Perfect. So go back to the home. That yes, there we go. And change your method to a post request.
Okay. And then
And then our URL, yeah, it should be localhost 1337. Then nope. We have a special endpoint. So I think let's like walk through the authentication flow first of all.
gotcha.
So
Yeah.
what? Oh yeah. So like what this looks like is we're sending details, user details. The user you just made, right? You had
Mm-hmm.
a username, you had a password. So
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing is we're sending a post request to an endpoint with the username and password as sort of like header data. And
Okay.
then if that's validated in the Strapi API, what we do is we get back a JSON web token, JWT
Aha.
token.
Gotcha.
And then that's what we can use to make like a normal GET request with the JWT as a header.
Okay. Cool. So let's so do I hit like is it login? Is it auth? What's the endpoint for this user?
It's auth slash
Auth
local.
local. Okay. And then down here, am
And then you need to
I
do a request body.
okay?
in JSON.
Application JSON.
Raw input rather. Yeah, let's just use like raw input. And then like open up exactly. And then we have like identifier. And that should be your password.
Okay, nobody write down this password. This is
Oh, sorry. No, that's wrong.
JSON.
It should be your email.
Okay,
My bad. Yeah.
it's okay. And then is it?
And then yeah, then comma and then another and then this should be password and then that should be your password.
Okay. Everybody's gonna go hack everything.
And then
I'm in. Yeah, I know. And that's it. We can send it.
Yep, let's end it.
Ta-da! Okay, and so here is our web token. So if I go and can I just like copy that?
Yeah, let's copy that.
Copied. Okay, so then
yes.
And
now we can sort of like open another tab if you want to keep track of this. Someone wants you to paste it in there. Open another tab of hopscotch.
Okay, and for this one, we're gonna do like developer. Actually, I'm gonna go look at my settings again so that I can actually see these things. So I'm going to authenticate it, and then I'm gonna look at for a developer if I want to create one. Yeah. We do post to developers, and then I can go look at my Swagger docs to see what post to developers needs, and it needs name and problems. So we don't need to, we can probably leave out almost all of that, right? I can just put in name.
Yep. No, actually, I think because we have that relation, we might get an error if we leave that out. But let's try it.
Okay.
I haven't used the REST API in a while.
All right, let's see what happens if we send it in, and then I need to send in a header, and that header is going to be authorization, right? And then is this one of those like bearer like that?
Yes.
Okay. So let's give this a shot, and it says, boom, done. Dave, you got problems?
There we go.
And if we go in and look at our, oh wait, here we go, developers. There it is. There's Dave.
There we go. There's Dave.
So I mean that's great. Now if I try this without the header, so uncheck that.
It should work because I think you still have. Oh no, we didn't give permission.
It shouldn't.
Exactly. Let's try the header.
Let's see what happens.
Forbidden.
Without the hacker or without the header. Says, nah, get out of here.
There we go.
Perfect. So it does what we want. You need that bearer token or else you can't enter things into the database. But we can, if we switch over to a GET request, we can, without the header, we can go and get a list of developers and problems.
All the developers.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's what we want. Like we're kind of thinking this is like a, yeah, Dave has no problems. He's got the password now. He's fine. He's fine.
He made it, Dave.
But yeah, so okay, so now we've got authentication here. When we know that if we want to actually do this auth, there's a flow for that. So we would have somebody enter their username and password into a form. We would submit that form to this endpoint, and then that would send back a JSON web token that we could then use for making requests.
Yes.
All right, I'm feeling pretty good about that. Can we take this? What would be the easiest way to make an authenticated request in a serverless function? I think we could, I mean, if we stored that JSON web token in a cookie, we can just pull that right out of the cookie in the web token or in the serverless function. Submit it as a header, submit it as whatever. Yeah, I mean, you'd need to
Yeah.
be logged in. I guess if you wanted to, you could like also pass in the username and password, but that's probably not a. I don't know that that's the way I would go about that. Yeah,
Probably
you'd want to
not.
login flow, and then from your login flow,
Yeah.
you would send that token with subsequent requests. Okay. So what if we want to take this a step further and do GitHub? Go back in here and start looking.
Good question.
And
We would need to go to GitHub. First, let's look at what we need from GitHub when we go to like providers.
see, client ID.
So the thing with providers is these usually work really well with a, how do I describe this? So like you have like a front end, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're frozen. This question broke Daniel. Okay, so we'll wait for Daniel to get back. I think he's having connection issues, and while we're waiting for that, I'm going to. He's gone. He'll join soon, probably. Here he is. He's coming back. He's coming back. There you are.
My internet's been doing this for like the longest time today. Yeah, sorry about that. It just keeps dropping me off.
No worries. We got we got some we got some jokes out of it, you know. Okay, so you were saying that GitHub this auth works with a client side app. So do I need to set up a quick client side
Exactly.
app?
Yeah. So what I'll do is just like, have like a client side app with the most basic like implementation I've seen is like one button that says like,
Mm-hmm.
login, and then
Okay.
that takes us to like the GitHub URL, and then yep, all of that. So that's sort
Okay.
of like the flow we get.
Okay. So let's see how far we can get. We've got about 20 minutes to do this. So we're gonna jump in here and say auth front end. I'll get init, and we're going to create an index.html. And let's just open this up, and we'll make a real quick index.html page. So we've got this. I'm going to use the autocomplete. Are you going to do the thing? There it is. And now I can say log into Strappy with GitHub. That's our goal. All right. Take that.
Yep.
Copy it right down here. And we're going to have a button. And that button says log in with GitHub. All right. So this is the very basics of what we've got here. And if I just run like netlify dev, we should get a local server that'll let us do that. And then as we add serverless functions, that will come on. There you go. So here's our site. Currently doesn't do anything. We click that button, nothing happens.
Yes.
So to wire this up, what do I need to do?
Right. So we need to create an app in GitHub. So yeah, you might have to show us your API secrets.
Let's just do that later. I will pull the secrets off screen, but this will let us get in. So we're going to go to, I think it's developer settings. We need to create, is it a GitHub app or an OAuth app? Do you remember?
I think it's for this particular one, I'm not too sure actually. It should be a GitHub, an OAuth app.
OAuth?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do an OAuth app.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to call this one Strappy auth. This one's going to be at localhost 8888. And the authorization callback URL is the one that they were showing us in here.
Yep.
There. So let's drop that in.
So that's the thing. We're currently local. I
Mm-hmm.
think we have to use something like ngrok
Oh, well, let me just
to
deploy it then.
yeah, okay.
So
Well, I
we'll
mean
do.
like this is the Strapi app because we'll make calls to all right, I think I've got my stuff in a bunch here.
Oh, I see what you're saying. We need the Strappy app to be publicly accessible.
Hmm. So we might have to expose the port 1337
Okay.
using something like what do people use? I use ngrok.
There's one that I saw online that was really nice. Um,
What is this specific tool called? Like,
does anybody remember what the one is that lets you do a tunnel online? Like, could I hack it with Netlify Dev? Maybe. I'm not probably not going to try to do that right now. Online, something like it. Like,
tunnel2.dev, I think. I just did like a quick search.
tunnel2.dev, expose your local web server to the internet, featured on Product Hunt. Okay, let's see. Can I installing? Man, I swear there was one that you could just like drop in the name of it and you didn't have to do anything. But let's see.
So
Okay,
brew install.
let's just do it. All right, this is gonna be fun. Let's see how long this takes. We may find ourselves out of time on this because we're at the probably the 15-minute mark here.
Oh no. Well, someone said something in the chat. NPX. Oh, I had no idea ngrok had NPX, like an executable thing on NPX.
Okay, so that installed way faster than I expected. So let's try this. And we will do tunnel 2 1337, and we're gonna call this
Corgi doc.
server denied the. Oh, I need an API key.
Oh,
Here we go.
this is like, oh no, it's like email. That's a lot now.
It's all gonna be fine. We're gonna make this thing work. Let me get over here. Tunnel 2. All right, I'm getting over here. Add a payment method. Oh no.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was scared of.
Wait, I thought it would just.
Yeah.
What if I just don't use a subdomain and I just want it to be like, dang. Okay, well, that one's not gonna work. All right, so we might not be able to do this because we don't have time to deploy this, and I don't want to spend the rest of the time trying to dive in and debug local tunneling since I didn't do any like ahead work to figure out what a good way to do that would be. But let's if you're installing anyway, why not use ngrok? That's a good point. All right, we'll try one more. Let's try ngrok one more time. So why do I have to sign in though? Netlify dev public
ngrok?
set the
I don't
port
think
to the
so.
Strapi API. I don't think that's gonna work, but I can try it. And then what? Port 1337.
What's that?
So that's the Netlify dev server. But what is the? Did it do a? Oh wait, that's the wrong one. So crap. What's the command? It is Netlify dev help. What am I looking for? Target port.
Ooh, I don't know about this. This looks cool.
No command specified. Come on. Can I just have it no op? No, I want you to. Oh, come come on. See, this is what I was worried about. It'll work, but we've just broken framework detection, and so it starts trying to figure things out and doesn't realize that we're just trying to like force break it. I set the framework option to listen to me. Framework. There is no framework option in here, of course, which means that we would need, this is going to, like, we could get there. We absolutely could get there. I'm probably not going to do it in the next 5 minutes, and that would mean that we'd have no time to actually do this once we got it running. So I think we're going to let this one go. Instead,
no worries.
Why don't we, but this honestly is a good, like, take a note for the future, because this could be a great thing to dig into later. How do you do local development, right? There might be a follow-up episode on this. Maybe there's a tutorial that could be done, but getting that local dev environment set up with a good tunneling solution for the back end, because the nice thing that we get with, like, if we have this site built up, which I don't want to like create a site to do it, but if we jump into one like the one we did, what's one of these? It's fresh. Do the autocomplete one, I think. Where's that autocomplete one? One of these is fresh. What did I do yesterday? There has to have completely lost track.
I think it was
JavaScript autocomplete.
The real-time one.
So with this one, because of the way that it's set up, if I run netlify dev public, it will open the local host, but then it'll also show us a wait, where did it go? It's listening, dev server, use host to expose. So this always works until I'm trying to figure out how to show it off, and then I like don't use this enough to remember what the pieces are. It's netlify dev live. Creating a live tunnel. That was what it was. It's not public, it's live. But so check this out. So now we have a live version of the local instance running, so that we can do checks like that. So it's pretty slick. Like it's very nice to use on the front end. It'd be if I had something like ngrok actually installed and configured, we could do it for the back end, but we're not there today, and chances are we're not going to get there within the next few minutes. So instead of that, why don't we do this for somebody who's trying to kind of take next steps from here? And let's recap, right? What we were able to do today is we jumped in. We were able to set up the schema for developers and problems, right? We got these configured, got the relationship set up between our developers and our problems. And then we were able to do data entry really quickly. And we can see here the relationships that happen where we're able to add our problems. And on the problem side, we can see who our developers are. And then we were able to do permissions. So we can go into the roles. We've got our public.
Yes.
And we can see that if you're not logged in, you can only look up. You can't create, you can't update, you can't delete. But if you are authenticated, an authenticated user can do everything except delete, and only the super admin, which is me, who is logged in right now, can actually delete things. So that would be a way to kind of lock down permissions incrementally, where you don't let destructive actions happen in case somebody loses their database key or something like that. We were able to do all of that in a way that exposes Swagger documentation. So we've got the whole REST API through Swagger docs. We've got the whole thing available through a GraphQL API, and we've got it all available through straight up REST API, right? So we can get all that data, and we were able to do that whole thing in 30-ish minutes. So that's pretty slick, like how quickly we were able to do that. So for somebody who wants to take next steps and they want to go further with this, where would you recommend they go?
Well, it depends. I see someone shared a link to the deployment guide. Of course, you'd want to deploy Strappy somewhere, and we've got some pretty explicit guides on how to do that. I would suggest going to our documentation. It's yeah, exactly this side that's on your screen. It's got a lot of really cool resources for setting up and like extending Strapi or like using more advanced functionality. I'd also send you over to our YouTube. We've got some really cool videos on a bunch of different topics. And our blog has got some amazing content too.
Oop.
So
Righty. So there's the YouTube, and then the Strappy blog is going to be over here, I think.
Yep.
Where am I looking for this?
On your left, it's in the resource center.
Oh, there.
On the left tab. Yep.
So here, if you want to check out the blog, lots of information in there as well. Alrighty.
Yeah.
So that is, I mean, just a ton of information, a lot of flexibility here, and all of this is open source as well. So if we go and look at open source, we can also see, you know, here's all the stuff. You can go poke at it, see how it works under the hood. Yep. If you saw anything that you wanted to change, like that Boolean flag that Daniel and I were talking about, you can go open a PR for that right now. And that I think is really, like, that's pretty powerful stuff. I think that's really cool. Whew. Yeah,
it's just a really cool. We've got this big V4 release coming out, so if you want to like keep track of that, also you can have a look at the commits on like the different branches on the main Strapi repo. We actually had to release today.
Oh, nice.
So yeah.
So here's here's V4.
If you want to have a good look of that, actually, you can go to strappy.io/v4.
There you go. It looks like that's been dropped in the chat, but I'll drop it again just for posterity. It looks like there's a waiting list. There's RFCs that explain what's happening. Here's some general overview. Love a good teaser. And video. Yeah, this looks great. I like it.
The video is really cool.
Well, cool.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, this is exciting. And so this is this like later this year, or what's the plan for?
Yep.
Nice. Very exciting stuff.
Like we have an alpha, but don't tell anyone. That's out somewhere. Which like just testing that. And we have a beta coming out sometime early in September. But we should be stable in the solutions engineer from my team, Derek, is there because I just put everyone to check out the alpha.
And end of September, he's saying.
Yeah, so like early October, we should have like the first stable. End of September, so like early October. This should be out, and it's going to change so much. I mean, like a lot of what we've done was like really cool, but we're sort of like tightening up a lot of the things around how we do certain things, lots of performance improvements, a huge visual overhaul, just making everything a lot more intuitive, making things a bit more accessible, at least, getting there in terms of accessibility also. There's so much. I'm actually pretty excited for this. Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, cool. So let's call that a great stopping point. So if you're interested in Strappy, go hit all of these things, lots of resources. They'll all be in the show notes, and make sure, go buy one of these Corgi toys just so that I don't have quite so many of them around. Tell it all your problems. And that, I think, is as good a place as any to send a little shout out to Amanda from White Coat Captioning, who has been giving us live captions all day. Thank you so much for sticking around. And that's made possible through the support of our sponsors, Netlify, Fauna, Hasura, and Auth0, all of whom are kicking in the show to make the show more accessible. Make sure you go and check out the schedule. We've got a lot of fun stuff. Tomorrow, we are going to have Moriel on. We're going to be talking about right to left support. Then We're going to have Amato Weiss talking about automation with Node CLIs. We've got Pachi coming on to talk about HTML and CSS. We've got Otto coming back. We've got Andrew Sprouse. Like, look at this list. We've got so much amazing stuff coming on the show over the rest of this year. What's going on? Where's Tim? We're missing Tim. But I'm like just completely thrilled with all the amazing things that are coming on the show. So make sure you go and take a look at the schedule and definitely click this Add on Google Calendar button so that you can see when the new episodes are coming. It's just going to put it on your Google Calendar. There's no notifications or anything. It's just for you to never miss an episode, because I want to hang out with you and I hope you want to hang out with me. Daniel, is there anywhere any parting words for everybody before we call this one done?
Just because this is at the top of my head, I saw you have Battle Snake with Joe Nash, and I am not missing that because I don't understand what that is, but I really want to understand.
I also have no idea what Battlesnake is, and I'm really excited to find out on that episode. I'm intentionally doing no research ahead of time. To the best of my understanding, it's a kind of that phone game Snake from like the old Nokias. Yeah. It's a developer centric version of that game, and I have no idea how it works. I don't know how to program games, so this might be an embarrassingly short episode where we're just like, well, I'm too far out of my depth. But we'll find out.
That'll be fun.
I'm super excited. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of really fun stuff coming in here that I'm super excited about. So mark your calendars, come hang out. It's going to be a great time. We'll see you over on Twitch. Make sure you hit that follow button and all those good things. Go follow Daniel on Twitter as well, and hope that he lets you through that gate.
Yeah, no,
Daniel.
I definitely will. But yeah, thanks so much. You've been, I don't know if I'm a great teacher or you're an amazing learner. I mean, the show is Learn with Jason, so I think you're an amazing learner. So it's been my honor.
Now, this has been super fun. Chat, thank you all so much for hanging out today. Make sure you stick around. We're going to go find somebody to raid, and we will see you next time.
Yep.